Hey y'all, hi, it is I, Hannah Louise Poston, and today we are just doing a little tiny, casual, gentle, tender, easy, trying new makeup video. Actually, I have some interesting stuff. Armani concealer and blush and Rituel Defeat concealer, the Urban Decay Naked palette, and a couple of other things. Oh no, Hannah. So I have some trepidation about how it will go because I'm trying complexion products and it's very rare for a complexion product to actually work for me, but it'll be a good time either way. And if you happen to be new around here, you know, it's a beauty channel, but I also make videos about fashion and aesthetics at large. This is beauty content. I'm also a writer and I'll link my book down below, but let's get right into the meat of the video. I'm also a writer and I'll link my book down below. Okay, this isn't new. It's the Ilia Skin Milk. Can't get enough, but I didn't do enough skin prep before sitting down. I did a little bit of brows. I don't have anything brow related to try, so I put a little pomade in my brows, but that's it. Let us do the thing I'm afraid to do. Armani concealer, Rituel Defeat concealer. So this is the Luminous Silk Multi-Purpose Glow Concealer, and they sent me shades 1.5, 2, and 3, probably the lightest 3 shades. The Rituel Defeat Soft Sorcery Weightless Serum Concealer, and they sent me shades Spell 101 and Spell 106, Fair Cool and Fair Neutral. I'm gonna swatch all of these and we'll see which one or ones seems like it might work the best. Okay, this is weird. One of the Armani ones has information, but the little Armani logo screws onto it and it's like on the back side of where the information is. And then the other two are just this frosted plastic with nothing on them. It sort of feels like I got sent bootleg Armani concealers. Like that's the vibe. I think what's more likely is that they set aside, I think sometimes brands set aside slightly flawed or like misprinted product to send as PR to influencers. And I think that that might actually be what happened. Maybe these were just like the test tubes, not test tubes, the prototypes. Maybe these were prototypes, or maybe this was a prototype or something and they just set them aside and that's how they ended up here. It's a little bit hard to tell what's going on. Okay, that's shade 2 and shade 3. Shade 3 looks more neutral, but it's darker. That's shade 1.5 in the shiny container that looks peachier. Shade 2 looks like the lightest out of all of them. 1.5, 2. Okay, from top to bottom with no dry down, this is Luminous Silk 1.5, 2, and 3. So I'm actually amending my previous statement about the packaging issue. I wonder if they recently expanded the shade range and it used to be that 1.5 was the lightest shade. Now they've added 2 and 3 and they're saying that they're just adding different undertones, but they actually made lighter shades because 1.5, which I'm guessing based on the packaging was the original lightest shade, is the darkest and the most peach. Shade 2 is the most neutral here actually. And then shade 3 is a little bit yellow for me. I wonder how they'll dry down though. I'm going to thin them out to give them a chance to dry down more quickly. And as they do that, I'll swatch the Rituel Defeat concealers. This is nice. The packaging is nice. 101 and 106. Okay, a couple of things. First, you can really see how luxury brands tend to fail the palest among us with their shades. The Rituel Defeat shade range, as you can see, actually accounts for how pale people can go, but not really for how neutral and olive a lot of pale skin actually is. A lot of skin actually is much more neutral than any makeup on the market, actually, I think across all shades. Talked about this a lot. But also, the Rituel Defeat concealer, in spite of being called Serum, Weightless Serum Concealer, is much thicker. At least the initial swatches are much thicker than the Armani, which is definitely more of like a skincare-y feeling swatch. Okay, down here, these two big swatches that I put at the bottom are REFY 03 and 01, the REFY concealers that I've been using constantly. The REFY concealer in 01 is the palest of all of these and the most neutral. It's that beautiful kind of creamy neutral color. The Rituel Defeat concealers are much pinker and much yellower respectively than REFY 01. So I know that I would struggle with that a little bit. REFY 03, which I've been putting kind of on the edges of my face, is the most similar to Armani 02. And I'm really curious about the texture of the Armani concealer. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the Armani concealer in shade 2 all over my face just to see what the texture is like. It's going to be too dark and then I'm going to brighten it up with the Rituel Defeat. I'm going to use my hands so that I can really get a sense of the texture, although I prefer to do this kind of thing with a brush and I might start doing that in a bit. Wow. Wow, it's nice. It's not as dark. It's not dragging the shade of my skin down towards the kind of red, muddy color that I'm trying to cancel, like the redness in my face, as much as I thought that it would based on the swatch. But also the texture is really crazy skin-like, really, really effortless and like impossible to mess up. A nice, like slightly dewy finish. It's not too matte. It's not too glossy. It's not shiny. It's sort of a satin. It's like a really elevated skin finish, I feel. I would need more. I'm actually going to add another layer because I do need more to get more coverage, but it really brightened my kind of under eye area, you know? Yeah, I'm getting along with the color better than I thought that I would. A lot of scarring on the sides of my face here and a lot of redness on my chin. So I tend to kind of double up there and a little bit around my nose with complexion product. It's pretty. It looks healthy. I feel like it's bringing out the best in my skin finish-wise. Not quite to the level of the REFY concealer, which has that kind of built-in glass skin finish. It's not quite that. Again, it's a little bit more of a satin finish, but it's undetectable and it's really making my skin look pretty. I like it. It's clinging a little bit to some dry patches on my forehead, but I feel like that's because I haven't exfoliated my forehead. I just can't imagine that any complexion product on the planet wouldn't be doing that because I have like a little bit of peeling skin up there. But just to give you all of the information, it's doing that a little bit right here, but everywhere else, it just looks good. I would need to spot conceal to cover, like I have an active blemish right here. I would need to spot conceal, I think maybe with a different product or really work with this and layer it with powder a couple of times to get it to fully cover that. But overall, it's put a lovely veil of kind of calm and satiny sheen over the skin of my face and really helped to alleviate the redness. I'm getting along with it way better than I thought that I would. When I first swatched these, I thought that I wouldn't be able to use these at all. I thought I would be like giving them all away, but actually I think I'll keep this one. And I think that I'll mix it with my green color corrector and with the REFY concealers to get that balance. It's a great no makeup concealer. Luminous Silk Perfect Glow. It kind of makes sense. They succeeded at the brief. Okay, let's see what we can do with the Rituel Fille. I think I'm going to go with the one that's on the yellow side as a neutral olive. If I have to choose between pink as a pig and yellow as a lemon, which is kind of often the two undertone choices, yellow as a lemon is going to get me a little bit closer to olive. Honestly, I love the way that this other concealer has ended up making my under eyes and cheeks look. So I'm sort of loath to do this. I do want to give you some feedback about this concealer. It feels so creamy. The texture is much creamier. The Armani is more on the watery side, like a real serum, although it does hold its own and build pretty well. And the Rituel Fille, in spite of being called serum, is on the creamy side. Okay, the color is definitely working for some brightening. It holds its own. It's exactly what you'd think it would be based on the swatch. It's funny that they called it serum. I would not have called it that. It's marketed as Soft Sorcery Weightless Serum Concealer. I do get the weightless part because it blends away in a really melty kind of creamy way, buffs out, blends into the skin really beautifully, but then the pigment is there. It feels more pigmented than Armani Luminous Silk, thicker, creamier. I would have used the word whipped in the marketing, although maybe that's kind of played out, but that's what it feels like. It feels like a pretty beefy whipped cream concealer and not at all like the many products on the market that are being marketed as serum complexion products in one way or another, like serum drop foundations, serum complexion tints, and serum concealers. The other thing is because it's sort of this whipped cream that then melts away as it blends in, but there's a lot of pigment, it actually did cling a little bit more to dry patches that were there. Again, my skin is very dry, right? I think that we wouldn't necessarily be seeing that if I had taken a bath last night and done some exfoliating and done a sheet mask. So it's going to be sort of skin dependent, but between these two, if you struggle with dry skin in the winter and you always have flakes of dry skin on your face, would lean towards an actual serum concealer like the REFY. But there are a lot of good qualities in this Rituel Fille product. I think that the thing that's cool about it is the fact that it has that whipped, melty, whipped quality, like a whipped cream cheese, honestly, but the pigment is significant. And it's nice that the shade range goes so light, even though it has that classic issue of either being very pink or being very yellow. But the surprise smash hit of this part of the video for me is Luminous Silk Concealer in shade 2. I'm so excited to keep playing with this. I'm gonna use a small brush in this powder and just use that to take down the contrast a little bit with these blemishes and scars. This is the NARS Soft Matte Advanced Perfecting Powder. It's a nice multi-purpose powder because it has some pigment in it. I will say about those concealers, neither one of them has left to my skin feeling heavy or slimy. They've both set down and become one with the skin really well. The finish is beautiful on both of them. Neither one of them has pilled. Neither one of them has gotten cakey or, separated or been hard to blend, dried down too fast, not dried down at all. There are all sorts of things that can go wrong with a complexion product. Both of them have performed really pretty seamlessly. And it's interesting. The interesting thing I think about it is to have two products that both basically claim to be serum concealers and have the textures be so very different. But both of them are successes overall. Now, this might sound crazy, but I really want to get something on my lips at this stage. It's not usually what happens next in a situation like this. What I have are 3 remaining of the neutral shades. There were 5 neutral shades released in the RMS Legendary Serum lipsticks. Everything is still a serum. Years have passed and everything is still a serum in beauty. There were 5. I gave 2 of them away. I think that they were more on the orange side and I felt confident that they wouldn't be the ones for me. I'm excited to swatch these 3, May, Naomi, and Pamela. And I'm particularly excited because RMS sent me the original launch of this product and they were all bright colors like strawberry and red and maroon, like strong colors. And I remember really liking the formula and literally saying it would be so great if they would come out with some neutral shades in this formula. And then here they have done that. They smell like vanilla cake frosting, but in a way that I can get behind. So it's May, Naomi, and Pamela. It's interesting. These are the neutrals. They look pretty pink to me. I think that Naomi is the one that I'm going to use. I think I can get it to kind of a ruddy place. Yeah, it's a lot more neutral than anything that was in the range previously, but this is still a lip color for me. And there was nothing, even with the 2 that I already gave away, there's nothing in this launch that had like that grayish beige neutrality, or a brown. There wasn't like a neutral brown either. They all have this like slight strawberry aspect to them. So I would like to see, 5 more in this formula with the color taken out so that it goes from like a deep, truly neutral brown through to a washed out, extremely neutral, like greenish grayish. But since this is what we have, I am excited to be able to wear these more easily than I could have worn the other ones. The formula is so great. There's this sort of cooling quality on contact with the lips. And then even though the formula feels sort of thick, it applies like a stainy, like almost lip treatment, almost like a quite thick, not thick, but quite stiff balm, like a stainy balm, but it melts on contact with the lips. And then it becomes this kind of stainy balm that's not too pigmented and looks really natural and looks almost like it's one with the skin. It definitely has stain qualities in the finish. The other thing is, and I just wiped off the swatches, but in the original launch, there were like 10 shades and I felt like about 6 or 7 of them, I could barely tell the difference between them. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, very accurate color vision. Like I can tell the difference between any 2 shades that aren't exactly the same. And I just remember being like 7 out of 10 of these are almost exactly the same color. And I feel the same way about this launch. I felt like those 3 were only very slightly different from each other. So the quirks of the brand, I feel like with RMS, but a beautiful texture, a beautiful formula to this product. I would like to be done. This is like a look I would love to wear. Just this, but let's end with the eyes. Okay, let's just get everything else done and then we'll go to the eyes. So for the rest of complexion, because for me with this lip, with like some really fun cheek and face stuff, the eyes are going to take it to that place of just it being a little bit too much for me. So I'd rather just build the look that I love and then we have to play with the Naked palette. So we'll do it at the end. Also from Armani, Luminous Silk blushes, and then this Peach and Lily Glass Skin Veil Mist, which it says is TikTok viral. I don't know from TikTok. I don't know. So I didn't know that. I believe them. They say they're TikTok viral. They sent me a fan. Instead of a highlight, I'm going to use this after I apply one of these Armani blushes to my cheeks. These are all pretty strong colors. And research is being done. So these, okay. I've learned so much. These are all 3 the frosted plastic of the 2 blank tubes from the concealer, but they all 3 have the information on the tube. So maybe Armani's moving toward this frosted plastic, and in the concealer realm, maybe they sent me an old tube of Luminous Silk concealer that wasn't frosted, and then some prototypes of the frosted ones that hadn't yet been printed. But these 3 are all, I think, probably how it's going to be going forward. But the little logo is not in the front on 2 of of them. And I just figured out that it can be in the front. It depends on where it is when you start screwing it in. So if you start screwing it in one way, it'll end up clicking on the back. But if you start at the right spot, it will click with the logo on the front. It's kind of a squashed, it's not a circle, it's like this squashed shape. So I guess I can see why it's like that. But if you have this, sometimes it will click on the front, sometimes it will click on the back. Luminous Silk Cheek Tint in Delicate Mauve, Flaming Red, and Rosy Peach, which is reading as kind of a neutral on camera, at least on the monitor it looks like. But at that angle, you can kind of see what it looks like in person. Really like fluorescent watermelon. Like the color of this box. It's weird. It's this pale fluorescent peach. It's not even pale. Pale fluorescent is sort of an oxymoron, but it's a light fluorescent peach, like a white-based fluorescent peach or watermelon in makeup and swatches. It's really hard to get them to register on camera. But I feel like you can tell what color this box is. That's exactly what color this swatch is looking like in person. And that's not the color for me, even though you would think it would be of the three of these. I mean, not a one of these is the Old Gum shade, for which I long. I'm gonna see how it goes with Delicate Mauve. Okay, the shade isn't my usual MO. It's that lavender blush thing, but the formula is so nice. Armani Beauty is nice. I don't know how Giorgio got my address. Like, I do not know how it happened. Oh, I guess I do know, because they asked me my shade for the concealer. Everything's just been such a blur. But I didn't know that these blushes would be forthcoming. I didn't expect them. And I hope that they keep sending things, because I guess that Armani Beauty has been kind of off my radar for a little while, but the formulas are good. I'm gonna put this red. I know this is risky business. That's intense for me. Oh no. Oh no, Hannah. Oh no. Oh no. In light of this, I see that I really did like Delicate Mauve a lot. And I actually think I'm gonna keep that one and keep messing with it. I'm gonna give Flaming Red to someone who will suit it better. But the formula is wonderful. And then it sets down, which I really like in a cream product like this. I wonder if this was a shade expansion and there are other shades in this product. I mean, it's not, I got it to a place where it's not bad. It's not bad makeup. It's just not my usual way of wearing blush. So I am going to tone it down a little bit. Actually, I'm going to tone it down a little bit with the concealer. So I'm using the same brush that I used with the blush. So there's a little bit of that still on the brush. And I'm going in with that Armani concealer and just kind of painting it over, but it's mixing with the blush on the brush and on my cheek and making it a more neutral color so that there's still blush on my cheeks. It's not being blanked out with concealer. I'm just taking the sting out of it a little bit. And really that also spread it like all across my nose, really blush draping vibes, but shearing it out and making it more wearable for me. Okay, let's do the Peach and Lily spray. I'm already feeling pretty glowy from, honestly, it's still from the Ilia Skin Milk. It always shines through everything and makes it glossy, but let's see. Been so long since I did this or anything like this. So yeah, my skin looks wet all over. The stuff has dried pretty well with the fan, so it's not that it is still wet, maybe a little tacky, but it's not flattering to me to have all of this skin around my mouth and on my chin, given the glass skin treatment, because that skin is, you know, it's starting to hold wrinkles. It's a little bit craggy. It's a little bit blemished. I would prefer that skin to be more matte. I really love a glass skin finish like on my cheeks and eyes and honestly most anywhere else on my face, but not around my marionette lines like that. So I'm gonna go back in with this powder. It's like this blemish on my chin had pretty much faded away because of the other makeup over the course of the video, and spraying that stuff brought it back. This is just the NARS powder again. It has added a lot of gloss to my cheeks. But what I would do next time would be to like cover the bottom half of my face basically and like spray the top half. Maybe if I were more youthful, I just douse myself in it. All right, my friends, it's time to pay the price. Here she is. This is the PR box, the original nude that broke the internet. It came with a primer potion, which is really nice. I really like Urban Decay primer potion. It came with a certificate of authenticity. It's hard for me to take it seriously because I feel like they've been scheming this since before they discontinued it. Like, I feel like this has just been the plan the whole time, and it's also artificial, you know? And it's like backed by popular demand, but is it? Like, have people been? It is nice though. It is nice. I never had this. I never owned this. And it was always something that I couldn't afford. I mean, back in like those early makeup days, even the early days of YouTube, it was really like an intense level of makeup for me and an intense investment for me. And it was one that I never made. It is nice. There's something about it. It's definitely nicer than any of the other naked palettes that I have tried. I feel, at least to me, it feels that way. Naked Paralegal. I see you. Naked Deep Sea Diver. Okay, this says it's a modern and interpretation of the OG Naked palette in an updated formula. Oh my gosh. Okay, I should have done my reading before sitting down. This certificate confirms that this palette is a genuine limited edition relaunch of the first ever Naked palette by Urban Decay. Often duped, never duplicated, this iconic palette will come back to life for one time only. We'll see about that. 15 years after its conception. Included are the original 12 must-have neutral eyeshadow shades, each meticulously crafted with top quality ingredients and expert formulation in an updated formula. This modern interpretation of the OG Naked palette proves a true icon never goes out of style. I wonder if, I can't remember if it used to be fuzzy like this, but Naked ASMR. It looks good, my friends. It looks good because it looks so neutral. It looks so cool toned. I hate this brush in the package. I wish that they had modern interpretation to that brush away. It looks good because it looks cool toned. I'm gonna put the primer, the eyeshadow primer on my eyes. Is that how it's supposed to be? This feels really like floppy and broken to me. All right, let's do a little swatching while that dries. These are the shades that intrigue me. Hustle, Dark Horse, Smog, Sidecar. This looks good. So Hustle, the first one, which is actually the color that I'm the most interested in, maybe a little bit of that dustiness of Naked palettes that I've kind of come to expect. They're not super creamy. You know, sometimes these days, all the eyeshadows in a palette will be really creamy, like they really feel, you can feel the creams and oils mixed in with them. They're not that way, but they're better than I expected based on the other Naked palettes that I've tried over the years. And Sidecar looks beautiful. My friend Julene used to have this palette way back in, it was like 15 years ago when I lived in Portland and I was dancing tango all the time. She was an esthetician and I would sometimes go to her to get facials. And I remember looking up from the bench, I don't know, the bed, the facial bed, like lying there, looking up at Julene. She was talking to me. She was probably about to like wax my brows or something. And I was like, what is on your eyelids? And she's like, oh, it's Sidecar from the Naked palette. And I just remember thinking nothing could be shinier. Nothing could be more glamorous. Nothing could be more special and more out of reach. Like to me, it just felt like the most mythical thing, like to be wearing Sidecar from Urban Decay on your lids. And I don't know. I mean, it kind of holds up. I'm going to put a little bit of it on. I'm more excited than I expected to be to do this. All right. But I still am going to stick to my current vibe, right? So I'm going to do Hustle all over with a little bit of Sidecar in the middle. And I'm going to use the brush. Okay, there's Hustle on the lids. It's not bad, y'all. I'm using the little domed end of the brush, the smaller end, to put it on the lower lash line. Okay, two things have happened. One, they've updated the formula and it's pretty good. I mean, it's still not Natasha Denona, it's not Pat McGrath, it's not indie, but it's not dusty. It's not barely there. It's holding its own in the contemporary market. So at least they wised up and did that. I didn't realize that when I was besmirching this during New Makeup Hot Takes. Actually, three things. So one, they updated the formula. Two, the colors are beautiful. Like it is the right time. I feel like they dropped this palette when it had become really passé and out of date in the cycle of what kind of colors are on trend for beauty. And they brought it back right when these colors are starting to solidify themselves at the center of what's trendy again. For me, these will always be the colors that I want. So I'm excited by that. But then the third thing that's happened is that I'm a little bit more of a Naked palette formula person now. Like the color's there, but it was easy to get a sort of semi-sheer layer, right? I didn't have to fight with it. I was able to keep adding it and blending it. And then still it's a little bit of a soft touch. It doesn't look like I tried too hard. It doesn't look like I'm wearing too much makeup. It's just the formula made it easy for it to be a little bit more one and done, a little bit more casual. And I'm more into that now than I was a couple of years ago when I was trying all of those Naked palettes and I was like, where's the pigment? This is like a great level of pigment for me in my life right now. And I would like it even better if I didn't have like a slightly cool toned red mixed into the cheek underneath all of that. It's like making me want to wear eyeshadow more. I am shook. I was dreading it. I was putting it off for the entire video, dreading it because I thought that I would scoff at it and hate it. And now I think I love it. All right, here's Sidecar. Interesting. So it takes the look for me a little bit over the top for day right now, but it's also a little bit subtler than I was expecting. It's a little bit more of a glimmer and less of a high voltage, like wet look reflect, which I think based on my memory of seeing it on Julene is what I was expecting. But the glimmer that it has, there is some magic to it, and it is holding itself back in that way that makes it easy to not go overboard, which I really appreciate. And I know that people do really appreciate. And that's part of why the Naked palettes have done so well, like on the market at large. I'm going to put on a little bit of mascara. I'm using this Redhead Revolution mascara. I don't want to add like thick black lashes to this, just a little bit of depth in a color that essentially matches the eyeshadow. And I just put that on my top lashes too. So leaving the lower lash line looks a little bare, but I think it's okay. I think it's doable and it helps the look stay lighter. So if I were building this look from the ground up, instead of just trying new makeup and having to put everything on my face, no matter whether the colors go together or not, and no matter whether I end up liking the textures or not, which is what this look is a result of, like this project. If I were building this look from the ground up, I would put this eye with a lot less color on the rest of the face. So either a really neutral shade for me on the cheeks or just highlight on the cheeks, a really neutral shade on the lips or just a sheer gloss on the lips, something like that. But the takeaway is that I just find the Naked palette a lot more appealing than I expected to. I've been thinking of it as this abstract thing in my head and sort of laughing at it. Then when I actually beheld it, like looked at it itself and looked at it for itself for its own sake, I was like, it's fierce. It's actually fierce in 2024. That is it. I had a good time trying new makeup today, and I hope that you enjoyed being here with me. The things that I'm going to be the most excited to use again are, strangely, the Armani concealer in the shade 2 and the Naked palette. More than any of the other things that I tried, those are the two things that I'm going to be the most excited to use. I liked most of the other things. Nothing really truly let me down. Yeah, nothing really truly tanked, but I'm pretty picky about what I allow into my daily life with makeup. And I think that even though I love the formula of this lip product, I will probably keep it in purgatory for a while and see if I actually end up wanting to wear it, because it does give lipstick vibes. I think that the ones that are actually going to cross the barrier right away are just the Armani concealer and the Naked palette. Wow. Don't forget to register to vote if you haven't done that yet. Vote and stay hopeful. And don't forget to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.